Well, good morning, everyone. We're still in that morning time period. Welcome to our Ohio Transfer Council webinar. Today's topic is financial wellness and approaching those conversations with non-traditional students. So we work with a lot of transfer students, but also that can encompass a lot of different other student populations. Sometimes a non-traditional student might be a student with non-college bearing experiences coming in. So sometimes an adult student fits into that category, and that might be different at all of our institutions. My name is Helen Duca. I am a co-chair with the Professional Development Committee with Ohio Transfer Council. And I'm so happy to have folks with us today for this webinar. So just a couple of housekeeping items as we go through our webinar. Please keep your volume muted while folks are speaking during the presentation. We will have lots of different opportunities for questions throughout the presentation, but first, I kind of want to let us get introduced to our speakers for today. So we have two really great speakers who agreed to come and share their wealth of information with us. We have Alicia Szempruch, and she is the Associate Director for scholarships with the Columbus Foundation. So she's going to be speaking with us this morning, and then Bailey Capelle. I asked both folks for their pronunciation, and I just had a feeling, even though I wrote some phonic notes, I might still butcher them, so apologies. But Bailey is the Director of Adult Programs and Services with College Now of Greater Cleveland. So we wanted to have some representation for all parts of the state of Ohio. So appreciation so much for both of you for agreeing to speak with our group today. So I would like to hand the floor over to Alicia for her to share maybe some best practices for working with a non-traditional student population about financial wellness.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia from the Columbus Foundation. The Columbus Foundation's sort of mission, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool. Is to assist donors and others in strengthening our community for all of its residents. And we do this with donors by helping them through what we call the most effective philanthropy possible. I don't know if you can see my air quotes there. Um, and so I work specifically with scholarships and scholarship donors, and we hold more than 300 scholarship funds. In 2023, we awarded more than 1,700 individual scholarships, totaling more than $5 million. This is primarily Central Ohio focused, but not 100%. Our scholarships can be split into three groups just to sort of give you a picture. And one is where we work directly with a college or university, and that can be anywhere in Ohio, anywhere in the country. And we share a set of guidelines with them, and they provide us with recipient information, and then we send a check to the school. We have several individual applications because we work with corporate donors and donors who are like out of county or out of the community. Or out of Ohio, and they'll have an individual application because it's just makes the most sense. So we aren't asking overly sensitive information for an employer-based scholarship. And we manage that application selection process for those. We also have, and this is the sort of the most interesting and helpful piece, is we have a universal application, and we've worked as hard as we can to get as many scholarships onto one single application as we can, so that students only have to complete that one application. These are primarily Central Ohio scholarships, but they are across Ohio. Some are national. This is also our primary focus for outreach. So I visit a lot of high schools, walking students through applications to help them get through the process, with the hope that either they receive a renewable scholarship or they will know to come back as they progress through their college career. The primary way we and as the Columbus Foundation Scholarships team, support non-traditional students and transfer students is by working with donors to broaden their guidelines and make scholarships renewable. So helping donors understand that not everyone is a graduating high school senior, as I feel like this group probably gets. So understanding that piece is key to helping donors really support students who are in the highest need. However, many donors just have a thing that they want to do, and we support them in their philanthropy. Additionally, and I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Columbus Promise Scholarship opportunity. It's where if you are graduating from Columbus City schools and planning to attend Columbus State, the Columbus Promise Scholarship will cover anything Pell doesn't cover and provides a little bit of a stipend. So we're working with donors to, if a student has those first 2 years covered, we're working with donors to defer any renewable funding or even first year funding into those junior and senior years. Additionally, while it's good to always check the website, the universal application is not just for traditional students, and there are opportunities such as there are several opportunities on there that don't require that don't have a requirement associated with what year someone is in school. For example, we have several LGBTQIA plus scholarships, and we put those in there so as you go through the application, when you answer questions, you'll be matched with that. It doesn't really matter what year you are in school. So that helps all students, by cutting down on their need to search and find. And finally, if you have been out of school for more than 3 years, we don't require a transcript. And in some cases, it's a little longer out of school just because those transcripts can be tough to find if you are like 40 years old. I imagine myself trying to get my high school transcript and thinking like, what a nightmare. So those are the primary ways that we support this particular group of students. We do our best to be as flexible on an individual basis as we can, and try to approach things like FAFSA drama with an eye toward how we can, support students and donors without penalizing either group. So that's primarily what I wanted to share with you guys today. And I'm not sure if you have questions or thoughts, or if you feel like this is accomplishing the the topic. So let me know.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I love that you used the phrase FAFSA drama. I think that's appropriate. But also thank you for what you're doing to help kind of reduce some of the barriers that the non-traditional student population is going to be kind of coming up against it. And I think that one of the big things that sounds like you're doing is that work with donors. So I am kind of curious if there's anything in those conversations that have helped kind of maybe like find the wiggle room with some of the donors to be more inclusive of a non-traditional population of someone not coming right out of high school, that might be helpful for other folks navigating similar like situations.
I think that I will say that this is something I've developed over the last couple of years, just having the confidence to be able to clearly and specifically tell donors, I can start this conversation and just have a long conversation with them about their intent and what their goals are. And then I can use that. Okay, let's talk about effective philanthropy and how to truly accomplish your goals. So then being able to have a confidence to share with them, you want to support students. Graduating high school senior getting $500 is very nice. And that's, in many folks, that's all they can afford. That's the maximum their scholarship can do. And so I'm not taking away at all from the generosity of those kinds of scholarships. Flip side is if you have the funding available, sort of broadening, like on my end, having the confidence to say, if you broaden those guidelines or if you allow the scholarship to be renewable or deferrable, then you're more likely to get at your end goal, which is to get someone through the other end of college, like not just started, but graduated. So I think that's the primary way I've been able to talk with donors, is like having confidence in data and information.
Well, those are very helpful tips. I think that donor relations is a very intimidating beast to take on. So not to, I know there's a lot that goes into it to be able to even give us those concentrated little tips. But I do think that that's really helpful to keep in mind, like if you are trying to figure out at your institution, maybe some additional ways to change the script or help change the narrative to how scholarships are approached for your student populations. I think that's super helpful. So thank you. Now, I believe we do have mostly everyone muted upon entry, and we can unmute for people towards the end. But if you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm gonna give a second for that to see if, before we hand it over, or see if there's anything else you want to add before we hand it over to Bailey.
I'm okay to hand it over to Bailey. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and share, and let's hope this goes seamlessly. Good afternoon. I'm super excited to be, afternoon, morning, almost afternoon. I'm very excited to be here today. And so I'm just going to add to the conversation of what College Now Greater Cleveland is doing in this space. So as previously mentioned, I have the honor of being the director of our Adult Programs and Services department over at College Now. And our primary focus is to support the adult learner. But before we kind of jump into what we do for adult learners, just want to give a little bit of background on College Now in case no one is familiar. So we are a college access organization, so a community-based organization located within Northeast Ohio. We expand a little bit beyond, the greater Cleveland area, so our name is a little bit misleading. But we are really focusing on getting interested individuals to and through their kind of post-secondary plan. And when we are talking about post-secondary, we're looking at everything. So 2-year, 4-year trade and certificate. And that encompasses transfer students within those spaces, in any part of the pathway. And really looking at, this is one of the ways that we can really increase the economic vitality within our area. We want, educated adults moving through family sustaining positions so that, all of those, benefits that come with it, higher health benefits, you name it. You all are very familiar with the benefits of higher education. So really anyone and everyone. And then my focus is the adult learner with the fantastic team that I work with. So just jumping into, so what I'm going to share mostly today is what we provide the clients that we work with through the kind of lens of how that impacts their finances. So I'm going to focus on the services because we do a kind of a holistic wraparound approach and how those services impact, smart financial decisions. And at the end, if you want to talk about the FAFSA drama, we are absolutely happy to answer any questions about what we're doing with the clients that we're working with. But I thought this might be a little bit more useful in terms of services and how we support adults to, get there and scholarships and all that kind of stuff. So you've probably noticed that our colors are purple and gold. But because we have multiple departments doing multiple things, we try to be very specific in our marketing. And so the adult programs department just rolled out the color blue. So all of our materials dedicated towards adult learners are blue. So that way, once they see something in the community, they kind of know it's for them. So what you're looking at is kind of an example of one of our postcards that we put out there, offering our services, just a kind of quick promotional thing. And I thought it would be fun to kind of include in this conversation. So you may have seen this, you may have not. But this is a really quick, easy way to identify kind of the basic supports we provide the adult learner. So career exploration, we are always looking at in-demand careers, because the way that we advise is for someone to get a credential, again, whether it's 2-year, 2-year, 4-year trade or certificate, that directly connects to one of the employers within Northeast Ohio that is currently hiring. So we do very targeted advising and kind of program mapping for that way. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it is completely focused on where can you get a job, where can you get a promotion, based off what the adult's need is in that particular moment. Then we also do a lot of financial aid, which again, I'll talk about a little bit more at the end. We support individuals looking for scholarships and applying for those scholarships. We also do have quite a few scholarships specific to the adult learner. I have information about 4 that are currently open that I want to make sure you all have at the end of this presentation. And then we do tons of work with FAFSA. Right now we're swamped with FAFSA appointments, and as you all know, the rollout has been quite exciting this year with the updates and the delays and the glitches. You all are probably working through your ICERs right now, which we have heard is another horrible experience because the formatting is all funky. So helping clients work through that, as well as our partners at the institutions. And then 2 of the services that we learn that people haven't heard of the most from our kind of end is that we do provide assistance depending on what the situation was with the student, with student loan services. So if a adult has started a program and stopped out, we have certain partnerships within certain counties where we may actually be able to pay off a past due balance up to $2,000. And then with the Ohio College Comeback, depending on the institution, we may be able to, get our partner institutions to supplement another $5,000. So College Now is willing to provide 2 if you all have, additional funds to make sure that student can re-enroll. So, I'll provide my contact information at the end of this if that's something you want to discuss of how we do that at your institution, whether it's a new student or potentially a transfer student from one institution to another. I'd be happy to chat. But we're very aware that one of the biggest barriers is actually debt and no degree. So helping our clients work through that, which is extremely important for financial well-being. And then finally, we are very focused on if an individual has not actually officially graduated high school, making sure that they get their GED. Now, I want to be very clear, we do not do GED tutoring. We partner with our fantastic organizations within our footprint that provide that tutoring, but we will make sure that they get the voucher to not have to pay for the different sections of the test, as well as ensuring once they officially have that GED, what their kind of pathways are to enroll into their next steps would be. So making sure that we kind of meet them where they are with the GED process, so it's a seamless transition into their post-secondary space. And I guess I should have said this at the beginning. The way we define adult learner is essentially anyone who is 19 years or older and has had some sort of interruption within their education. So, not the traditional high school student, someone who, didn't graduate. So if you graduated from high school and went immediately to school, that's fantastic. And, go immediately through and graduate. We have another department that focuses on you, but our department is focusing on any student that has kind of, had an interruption. So probably very similar to how you all define it. So kind of jumping into what are some additional supports that we provide that really make a big impact on students' finances and sort of a, kind of doing that wraparound perspective. And the way that we're supporting credit for prior learning, as well as some of our additional support services, these are programming supports that our team is currently developing and rolling out. So we have some of pilot programs out there, but then over the next year or so, we're really going to be focusing on we can best partner with institutions within our space, as well as other states, because we do provide supports for students in the event they do online classes. But so if you are currently working through these various kind of credits for prior learning spaces, we would love to chat with you and connect with you so that we know exactly how to support students that we're working with if they're looking to transfer or apply to your institution. But so the first one that our team is really advocating for are, College Board has those credit for prior learning examinations. So making sure that if a student wants to actually take that exam, they know all the different pieces for actually completing it and then potentially getting course credit. We are looking into various ways of how we can support, students putting together the portfolios to submit artifacts for prior learning. And in many spaces within Ohio, as you probably all know, students can get up to 24 credit hours approved based off what the panel of professors is saying counts as credit or not. So really making sure that students who have been in the workforce for quite some time and have some really valuable experience can actually get those 24 credit hours immediately upon entry, so that they can really take the classes that they need in order to complete. Because as you all know, adults, especially transfer students, don't have another 2 years, another year to really dedicate to getting that degree to then move into a family sustaining wage. I will give you just an example. So this past Wednesday, I was on a call with Baker College, which is actually a college located in Michigan, so a little bit out of the Ohio footprint. But they're interested in creating a partnership for their online courses. So Northeast Ohio students, what they need to do to get those 24 credit hours, how we need to advise students on creating that portfolio. And, you know, we also recognize that there are fees often attached to a portfolio submission such as this. And College Now is very interested in figuring out ways of, if your portfolio submission costs $250, is there a way that College Now can supplement that cost for the adult learner? So again, if you have a process that you want to talk through, happy to chat about how we can support that with you. And then, of course, making sure that if there are any specific details for your admissions programs, knowing if there's another kind of, you know, credit for prior learning program that you're trying to work out, that we know those details. We have a couple going in the works with Cleveland State, and, you know, the University of Akron has wonderful things going on that have just been shouted out in the news. But finally, the last one are the competency-based college education programs. So if you can take a test, prove competency, and automatically get credit for that course, talking to our clients about, you know, this is another fantastic option in order to be able to kind of move faster through your coursework. Because, you know, beyond completing the FAFSA and getting scholarships, this is where we really see some impact on the finances of our adults. And then finally, I mentioned this at the beginning, but making sure that students are working or entering programs that actually connect directly to an employer. So we do have a database called the Managing Advancement Programs database that College Now has designed in partnership with Team Neo. And essentially it's a clearinghouse of information that is sometimes hard to access, and it really focuses on regional training programs. So anything that's 2-year, 4-year trade or certificate that we know about within Northeast Ohio that leads to an in-demand career that has something that is perpetually vacant. It really essentially takes you to, these are the programs that will connect you to those careers. So again, making sure that whatever the student's educational pathway is will result in a job, because that has a huge impact on finances. And if any of you have used our MAP database, that's fantastic. If any of you would like to be trained on it, happy to share those details as well. Or if you want to ensure that your programs are represented accurately within the information that we are sharing, that would be fantastic. But really the goal is, again, to get that adult learner to the end game with that family sustaining wage. In addition to kind of these standards, so what I just kind of went over is what we call the standard services for our adult learner. We are really looking at how to then make our services much more holistic and wraparound. So it's kind of here's the basic stuff, and then based off of your current experiences, your current situation, what are the additional services that we can put in place to make sure that you enter the right program for yourself. So we're taking a much more cohorted model approach to our programming and our support. So everyone gets that kind of traditional support for the adult learner. And then if you're a veteran, kind of what are the additional services that you need to provide? If you are a justice impacted individual, so whether that means you were incarcerated, you're formerly incarcerated, or a member of your family has had that experience, what additional services do you need in order to matriculate? Same thing with refugee programming. Programming for pregnant women, and then as we're programming for new parents. So if you're a new parent within, you know, the first 12 months of life, what do you need in order to stay in school? So just quickly, an example of this type of support would be, I'll use the last two. So if you are a new parent and you are currently in school, but you're kind of struggling with finances, you may say, hey, College Now, I need a one-time purchase of a month of formula because this expense is really outrageous. This is preventing me from being able to buy my books or pay my rent or, pay my fees at the university I'm currently attending. That would be something that we're interested in supporting for that particular student. So we're taking a very serious approach to the kind of financial well-being of the whole student, something that's a little bit out of the box beyond just FAFSA support, scholarship support. And so, like I said, a lot of this is kind of in the works, and we're developing it as we kind of figure out exactly what the intersectionalities are and what's really important for our current clients. So if you have suggestions, we're all ears, because we're still kind of in the rollout phase of many of these different program cohort models. And then finally, the last piece of kind of these additional ongoing supports that we always are trying to implement based off the financial needs of a student is we do have some advisors that are comfortable or coordinators comfortable advising in multiple languages. So I have an absolutely fantastic team, and we have quite a few languages at our disposal to support those within Northeast Ohio. So if we have a team member comfortable, advising in Chinese, then an adult learner who may be an English language learner can actually opt into having a conversation in their native language. Again, that's based off of comfort level of our current staff, but our current staff is very excited about the potential of developing these services. We also do offer services at multiple locations as well as virtual. So I'll kind of share what our current auxiliary office model is in just a second, but knowing that many adults want to meet in person, and you have to meet them where they are, which is across a very large geographic space, or they're very busy and they only have about 10 to 12 minutes to chat with you online in between, jobs. So we make both options available. I mentioned earlier that College Now specifically dedicates funds to the adult learner. We are very serious about this. Our current oldest adult learner is actually 70 years old, who is receiving a scholarship recipient. So when I say we're very serious about it, we're very, very serious about it. And then those who do receive funding directly from College Now, because we also promote scholarships from any outside organization as well as any institution, they do have the option to opt into an adult mentoring program. Again, we know adults are very, very busy. They don't necessarily have time to connect with a mentor, every month or so, but we do let them opt into the program if they would like to have that additional kind of support person. This model kind of matches what we do with our traditional students. So if a traditional student receives a scholarship from College Now, they're automatically paired with a mentor, and they're required to communicate with them throughout their 4-year degree just to have another layer of support. So we wanted to extend that same support to our adults. And then finally, the last piece we have for all current adult learner scholarship recipients, we do have one-time emergency funding applications. So we have a fantastic donor who always says, hey, I want this funding to be kind of emergency funding for the adult learner in particular. So if you receive a scholarship from us, and then we get the permission from this funder to kind of launch this information, a student can apply and say, hey, you know what, I've had a really rough month. Can you pay my rent this month? So anything to kind of provide that wraparound service in order to keep the individual within school, just kind of trying to make sure we've got that financial stability across the board. This is an example of where we are in terms of our auxiliary offices. So College Now's main resource center is located in downtown Cleveland, but one of our auxiliary offices is located on the east side in a community resource center with the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. We're one of 15 other partners that currently provide wraparound services there. So an adult might say, hey, I'm coming to get food from the food pantry. I also need diapers for my kid. And then I also want to talk about, potential scholarships for the program that I want to enroll in. So putting ourselves in spaces where we have like-minded parties to kind of provide those wraparound services. Similarly, then in Akron, because we do a lot of work targeting the city of Akron, in addition to the city of Cleveland. We have a team member located at Ohio Means Jobs in Summit County. And in that space, there's a drop-in daycare. So if someone wants to come meet with our team member, they can bring their kid, provide, put them in the daycare for up to 2 hours. So they have 2 hours of dedicated time to focus and kind of really figure out what they want to do, so that we can really, provide them the support that we need. So just a couple of examples of how we're trying to, alter our services to really get to that adult learner, to get them to that place of financial wellness. And then, of course, anything is fair game in the virtual world. We have a lot of virtual appointments. That's actually still probably our most popular way to connect, especially this post-pandemic. And I shouldn't say this, but we are focused in Northeast Ohio, but if anyone gets our link, they can make an appointment with us. And so we do actually support 41 states out of the United States. So we are supposed to be exclusively Northeast Ohio, but we do end up working with a lot of individuals out of state. And that could be, they have someone from Cleveland went to California and then their roommate wants to talk to us, so it just naturally happens. But we may not have as many scholarship opportunities for individuals in those situations. Just wanted to show off my fantastic team, just to kind of, give them the props that they deserve. I really can't be doing this wonderful work without them. So if you are ever kind of working with students from your institution and you connect them with us, just so that you kind of have a face to the name of the person that they may be working with, or maybe you already have met them and you know them. So, you can already say how fantastic they are. So then finally, I'm almost done, I promise. I had a lot to share. I did want to make you all aware of 4 scholarships that are currently open, in case they are applicable to any of the students that you're working with. And before I leave today, I'll make sure to put the links in the chat. And one of them is, the deadline is fast approaching. So the first 2 I have on the screen, the manufacturing scholarship, this one is open until we run out of funding. So there's no deadline date on this one. And you may be thinking, oh, manufacturing, that doesn't necessarily apply to my institution. There are many programs within the engineering college and engineering fields that actually qualify for this funding stream. So I'm still going to put the details in there. So please check them out. It is applicable to 2-year and 4-year programs, and or certificate and licensure programming. But I would think that most of you are interested in the 2-year and 4-year. But if you are a community college, some of your certificate and licensure programs, this is totally fair game, and exactly what we're looking for. And then the Resettled Refugee Visible Voice Scholarship for Adults, that is such a mouthful of a name, looking at individuals who are identified as resettled refugees. Visible Voice is the name of the funder who provides this scholarship. They have committed to providing 2 one-time scholarships of $10,000. This is the one that is due April 3rd. So if you do know a student that is a good fit for this one, the application is fast approaching. So I just wanted to call your attention to that deadline. And then the final 2, these 2 are both due April 30, so the end of April. And these qualifications are really for the standard adult learner, 19 years or older. They've had at least 2 semesters of interrupted kind of something going on in their education, whether they took a year off or maybe they stopped and started. And really kind of the goal is to get them either back in school or in school for the first time. The great thing about these ones, they're renewable up to, your 6 years. If it takes you 6 years to get a bachelor's degree, if you transfer institutions, the scholarship transfers with you. So something that's perfect for the conversations today. And, it can vary from, closing the gap if you have a small gap of $200 up to potentially $5,000. The College Club of Cleveland Foundation is really trying to focus on getting that $5,000 mark out there. The Adult Learner Scholarship, the one that's kind of the traditional one that we call it, is really probably more capping around $2,000, but each student is different. And, we always joke, you say, once you've met one adult learner, you've met one adult learner. That applies with their scholarship needs as well. And then the last thing that I just wanted to make sure that I shared was my email address. So if you do want to reach out to me directly, if you have questions about anything that I shared today, or if you're interested in collaborating to make sure that we're better supporting the students that are transferring in and out of your institutions, please, by all means, reach out. I'll probably loop in some of my fantastic team members that you saw earlier, just to make sure that the conversations are applicable to what they're doing in the field, as well as kind of what our goals are as an organization, and best supporting the work that you do, and the clients that we're meeting and trying to send your way.
Thank you so much, Bailey. That was an insane amount of information, and all of it was really great. So I appreciate that. I adjusted the settings so that I think people have the option to unmute themselves. So I want to take a moment and see if anyone has any questions before, while we have these 2 great speakers with us this afternoon. Little quiet crowd. Okay, I'll give people a little bit more time to, think of their questions. Bailey was very kind and said open floor if anybody wants to talk about FAFSA drama. So if anybody has any tips or questions on, things that keep coming up in those conversations and just, I don't know, want to see if anybody's got a solution for some of those hard conversations while we've kind of been in the waiting game. Bailey was also, I think, very kind in saying that it's an exciting time, which I thought was great. I'm going to check one more time for questions before I share my screen again.
So I've got a quick question.
Hi. Yes. Okay, great. Let's hear it.
Hi, Bailey. I'm Allison. I am one of the transfer specialists over at Tri-C. I've been referring a lot of students to you guys for FAFSA support. And I just had a question. Are you booking out far in advance for those? Are you still able to get students in pretty quickly? I just want to have an idea of what I'm telling students, what to expect.
Sorry, I just had to make sure I was unmuted. That's a fantastic question. We are making sure that students can get appointments with us within, a week or two. If you're experiencing anything different, then we would adjust our availability. But so far, it's really, we're able to get people in quickly. We do know that with this new announcement that the update to edit your information now is mid-April. We've been having a lot of panicked calls of, hey, we thought we were going to be able to do this in March and now we can't. So some of our interactions aren't as lengthy as they have been in the past, or we expected them to be right now. But yes, and if you ever have an issue getting in an appointment with us and a student has not been able to, you can email me directly and we'll get it sorted out. But we have had no feedback otherwise. And we've got, my team is on deck answering questions left and right. They're very busy.
Yeah, you guys have a fantastic team over there. Yeah, I just had another student today reach out because the FAFSA said that she didn't sign it, even though she is looking at the signed copy in front of her. And
what a nightmare. These glitches are outrageous.
Yeah, it's been bad. I told her the same thing. Everybody's in the same boat. So I've been telling all the students is that, everybody, the only good thing about this is everybody's going through it at the same time.
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the question. Oh, the one thing that I also forgot to mention, which I'm very glad I remembered at this time. So we do all kinds of supports around student loans. So this actually extends to you all as well, especially if you're working for a public institution and you have not yet completed your public service loan forgiveness application. Our team is experts in ensuring that you are actually on kind of that repayment plan to get those loans forgiven. Or if you just need assistance with a repayment plan in general, looking at what's best for your current situation. So whether it's for yourselves or students that you're working with, we do a lot of work with student loan forgiveness. Sorry about that.
Never apologize for sharing. Helpful. Okay. Just want to share a couple of other OTC related updates that also have ties in with some scholarship items. But one, I want to plug again, our annual conference is on June 14th this year. Registration is open for that. Thank you so much for your time, Alicia. And then, sorry. Let me get these error. There we go. So just to kind of see, while we're talking deadlines and a little bit of money, we do have our early bird registration fee, and it's open now. So you can register for the conference and get a pretty nice discount there. So we definitely want to encourage folks, again, if you have to, maybe start making some requests with your institution to get approval. Another little helpful piece is that we have the early bird registration fee. We also have some other registration options if you are volunteering, if you are presenting, which we should have an idea of who has been selected as presenters for the OTC conference soon. If you are a graduate student, there are also some discounts available for you for the registration. And again, that does include the conference or your membership for OTC. So I think we give a lot of value to the conference for what that fee is. So really excited with some of the information and some of the things in the work for the conference this year. So really hoping to see folks there. Additionally, I wanted to share some of the OTC specific scholarships. There is currently the scholarship application open for the David Gall Memorial Scholarship. So the deadline to apply is April 1st. So if you, have some transfer students that might be eligible, try and give them a quick, drop them a line as soon as you can, as that application does close April 1st. Just a couple quick eligibility pieces for the David Gall. Students have to have at least completed 24 credit hours or 36 quarter hours by June 30th. So they need to be currently enrolled at their institution during that spring semester. And then the awards are dispersed in the fall. So, and for both institutions have to be OTC members. So the institution that they're at in the spring has to be an OTC member. And then wherever they end up transferring in the fall also has to be an OTC member. And then let me just read my notes I have on those ones. So that scholarship, there is a scholarship application that they submit, a letter of recommendation, and then an unofficial transcript. So those are just some of the cliff notes for that one. And then the Jason Gibson Memorial Scholarship will open May 1st. If you have questions, you can email Shaka Wilson at the Ohio Transfer Council Scholarship at gmail.com. The information is on the website, the requirements, the applications for the David Gall Memorial Scholarship. And then just to kind of give a little, background, David Gall was an advocate of transfer students. He a very, very early member of Ohio Transfer Council with originally coming from Ohio State University. He was really involved in the development of policies that were being, kind of initiated for statewide transfer policies. So he was very on the early end ground floor of getting OSU to adopt and implement those policies as well. So to be able to have a scholarship that honors him for our students is a really wonderful memorial. And then Jason Gibson also was a very dedicated member of OTC, specifically within our scholarship chair committee. He was a transfer student himself, starting out at Lorain County and then transferring to YSU and then continuing on to Bowling Green for his graduate work. So very sad to have, be missing those individuals, but so happy to be able to honor their legacy for transfer students and all that they've done. So please keep those opportunities in mind for any students that you've been working with. And then I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and going to revisit the chat to see if there's any questions, any final questions for the group about anything that we've talked about. There's so many great links in this chat that I'm coming back to. It's wonderful. Okay, I want to see. Okay, last call for questions. It's been a little quiet, but we do have time, but we can also wrap a little early if there's no questions. I have this presentation recording, so it'll be sent out afterwards, so you can share it with any, colleagues that you may have that this information would be relevant to. All right, I'm gonna call it a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Hope to hear some follow-up questions through email, but we hope to see you at the conference. Have a great afternoon, everyone.